Yes.
Are we
I
live? I
don't
don't know.
know.
Someone Google us.
Yeah, we're still alive and very good and back into the real world. I am happy to be doing this very random streaming. Just started. I got a chance to catch my good friend Jenny Bramble, who is back in person with us. We are back in person with everybody. I'm super excited about it. And how about you, amiga Jenny? How have you been? What's up with you?
Oh my gosh, I am so excited to be back in person. I was telling Leandra earlier that at the start of the pandemic, I was in like a 600 square foot apartment. So it's so nice to be back with humans and people. And at StarEast, whew, I have missed speaking in person. Like there's an energy in person that you don't
Yeah.
quite get over virtual stuff.
There's
So,
too much energy for the Zoom bandwidth to be transmitted as it is just like that. And we,
especially when you live out in the middle of the woods, I don't have the bandwidth for excitement.
oh, no, well, yeah, we need Mr. Elon Musk to speed up the satellite thing so that we can get better bandwidth. But yeah, it's awesome to be out here. As if anyone cannot see more than 600 square foot around here, it feels so good. It's
It
so
is
liberating.
beautiful day outside, beautiful friendships inside.
All good friends. And it's another thing incredible. Before the conference, I started to hear from friends, from people, I'm going to be in a StarEast. Oh, you too? Me too. And the next person, I'm going to be a StarEast. Everyone's going to be here. Everyone's going to be having fun. I mean, I knew that you were going to be here. I have some friends from Latin America. We were talking earlier to Federico Toledo. Another amigo, Delvis, is coming. We have Andy. What
There's
is
just so many people that I have wanted to hang out with for so long. Melissa's here, Jenna's here, Tarek is here. And I've met a ton of new people, people that I actually saw virtually. A couple of women were in my tutorial this afternoon, and they said, "Oh, we really wanted to come to your tutorial. We saw you online at the last conference, and we want to see you in person." It was really lovely,
yeah, it, the,
just lovely.
the difference and all that you can do. We were a little bit talking about this, how different it is to do a workshop in Zoom and
Yeah.
in person, have the fun, to make people even feel sick. I think someone got a little bit of that. So much excitement.
The idea, the virtual versus in person workshops are so different. Like this was the first time running my soft skills workshop in person, and when I'd run it online, I was like, "Oh, we're all going to go to this website, and we're going to talk about automating this website." But in person, it's a little bit harder because not everyone has a laptop. You can't really like project it up and have people interact with it.
Here is your link to
Yeah,
the
like
website.
I have
Like
printed you off a
QR
website.
codes for everyone. No.
And it kind of works, but not super well. So I actually grabbed decks of playing cards, and I'm like, okay, here's some playing cards. What I want you to do is write me a test case for dealing a hand of poker. Like,
Oh,
how would you test dealing a hand of poker? Like, what's your happy path?
what would be the approach if I already suck at that before the test case? Nobody's. Well, what was your workshop about? Tell us a little bit. Let's talk about it because I was like, yeah, it's okay. Let's give some context. What was
So
happening?
the one I did today is called the soft skills of automation. And I very strongly believe that testing is an incredibly cerebral activity.
Oh yeah.
One of the things that I've said recently that people have been like, no, wait, actually, yes, is that you can spend 2 or 3 hours thinking about a test to execute it in 10 or 15 minutes. Like the majority of your testing is done by thinking and by working through something, maybe writing down your test cases, maybe getting your data together. But the actual testing is such a small part of what we do.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea of the soft skills of automation is that there's a lot of stuff we can do before we automate. We can think about, can this be automated? Are there elements in this that make it hard to automate? Like, is there video? Is it location based? Is it time based in a way that's hard to replicate? So if it can be automated, the next question is, should it be automated?
Mm.
And that's a harder one because you want to think, has it been automated somewhere else? Do we have unit tests? Do we have something else? Um, Is it a good return on investment? Does it teach us something? Like, if this test fails, do we care? And I've definitely written a lot of automation in my life that if it failed, we just deleted the test because no one cared. It wasn't giving good information.
It's interesting because you just get me thinking on so many things. Like in a way that you're saying the toughest and the place where we should be taking the most effort and time around testing and QA, it's on the planning and thinking about it, shifting left all of what is happening
yeah.
around our QA efforts. That and the automation part is like I call it a little bit the Stockholm syndrome. I mean, it can get tough, but you end up loving it, and it becomes like an addiction, right? It's like, oh my god, yeah, what else can I automate? Just or
One of the interesting things, if you lock a designer in a room, an hour later they're going to come out with a design, like a Figma or something. If you lock a product owner in a room, they're going to come out with a bunch of requirements. You lock a developer in a room, they're going to come out with a bunch of code. You lock a tester out in a room, they're going to come out and be like, thumbs up, it looks good to me. We don't have a lot of artifacts. We don't like create a thing necessarily. We can sometimes create, well, we don't create the bugs, we document them. We document places expectations fail. But we don't create anything.
The creativity comes from the designing those ways to figure out the box or where could them be, because there are some things here at K6 we have tools for developers, but sometimes the developers do not have those perspectives on what should be or negative testing or what does it mean, or things that we get at times, like for performance, what is throughput, what is that hits per second, what does that mean? I just have my class and my function and my code. And that creativity that we testers bring to the table, that is something that we need to kind of develop, right?
So how do we make that visible? How do we make the thinking and the cerebral parts of our job more visible?
It's a little bit like scientists.
Yeah.
How can I build an experiment that is repeatable, that will show that this law of gravity thing is true and the thing will fall all the time into the floor? What is the speed? Always will be the same speed. But how do you realize those things? I have seen some experiments that are like, put a fuzzy string floating in the air, and if a cosmic ray hits it, it will stretch, or silly things. But we are the ones that come up with those type of silly things. We have that creativity, right?
We also think about the user experience. So, okay, we can do load testing. Load testing is awesome. If we get to this point, it fails. That's fine. But what happens after that? Like, what's the user experience when something like that fails?
Yeah, I mean, we want to avoid those type of problems, and at times also check that those problems happen, right? It's I've been reading too much chaos engineering lately, but it's like you want to see that it happens, and how will you react to when all that happens? And it's part of that creativity on how can you control or come up with, I was going to say fun ways, because everything has to be fun with me, but cool ways or repeatable ways that you can generate all those things. But it's and is something like that what that you were giving in the workshop, or enlightening?
Definitely. We were talking about if you don't have the ability to do automation, like maybe you don't know how to code, you're not going to learn, or you don't have time, it's been deprioritized. What are things you can do to enable yourself in the future to do better automation? So write pseudocode. Sit with your developers and learn about their unit tests.
Yeah.
Think about, should this be automated? Can this be automated? How would we automate it? Because then if you have a bunch of tests that you've said, yes, this can be automated, yes, this should be automated, here's how we would go about it. Then when you've got the opportunity to do automation, you have a bunch of baked in things that you can start with, because you've already identified them as important and interesting.
And it's, now that you mentioned the unit testing part, which got me big time right now, because you said that you go and look at it with the developers, what are they testing for? But shouldn't we be telling them what to test for in their unit testing? Because in my experience, most of the time they don't know very well what to include, what to do on those unit tests, or what is the scope.
I'm going to say yes and no, because they should know what they've written and they should know how it works. So if I've written something and I can say, okay, so I wrote this thing, these are my requirements, here's how I would tell if it works, or here's how I would tell if it probably doesn't work. Like, they should be able to at least do that piece.
Hmm.
Otherwise, I have concerns about them understanding the code they wrote.
Oh well, don't get me started there. Some
But
tests.
we bring that creativity in. So if I
Exactly.
sit down with my developer and I say, hey, could you run me through your unit test? He'll be like, yeah, I did this, that, and the other, and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, that's awesome. What about these 4
But you're
things?
missing this and that. And
Like, should we test for this? Is there a reason we wouldn't test for this?
mm.
And that gets them thinking, gets their juices flowing. So the next time they write better unit tests, they
Yeah.
write more unit tests.
But it's something that they start to absorb that creativity from you and
Mm-hmm.
start to have. I like a lot this the Thundercats have side video on site and be able to foresee some of those problems because
Yeah.
at a time and a little bit from personal experience you can get to a point where you are told, Mr. Negative, you're just saying what is going to go wrong, but that's because we have that vision.
Well, that's the curse of the tester.
Yeah.
We spend so much of our time giving bad news and saying, hey, this doesn't work. We can't ship. This is awful. Why would you do that? Do you hate me? We spend so much of our time doing that and giving this negative communication that we can be viewed as negative. But if we can actually take that and communicate in a kind way
Yeah.
that these things are not going well, we can actually change the culture of our team and our companies.
Because
I believe that testers hold the keys to the culture because we are such a nexus of information and because we do so much communication of things that are not pleasant.
and it is where you see the developers at times see in us a roadblock as something like,
Yeah.
oh, this son of something that won't allow me to put my code into production. I just want to go home. And it's but the perspective switching it is like, hey, I'm gonna help you to not to stay late here. Let's detect this early. Let's find ways. Let's help you to get those ideas already out of your metal box and implement it and detect where are you. Because if I remember well earlier, we were talking a little bit on the type of personality and one type of tester or person, and you mentioned a little bit like a diagram that you have for that. Can you share a little bit more on that? Because I'm intrigued. I loved it.
Testers and developers are different people.
Mm-hmm.
And because we're different people, we occupy different parts of the software development lifecycle and we become a whole. Like, you can't have honey mustard chicken without the honey and the mustard. Sorry, I'm starving apparently.
We all are
So
constantly. Yeah.
you need those two things to balance each other. You need those two things to kind of come together and be able to say, hey, we are moving towards the same thing. We're trying to get to the same place. We're doing it in different ways because we're a balance.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's just, we can't all be the same. If we were all the same, we would not be able to do our jobs well.
It's and it's in line with something we walked into our friend Federico earlier, and he was talking about this, and he was talking about tools, like the tools that no code tools that are
Yeah.
oriented for people that need more um, assistance in the coding part, but that may be very analytic to, hey, detect, effect, problem here, how that creativity. Because it's a different type of creativity, the one from testers than the one from developers. And there are very good coding testing tools,
There
but
are.
you may be lacking that other side of the testing. And it's important to have both. And I don't know what's your take on those, either or, like all code or all no code.
Tools are tools. I'm not going to spend my entire life trying to hammer a screw in. Like, if I can use a power drill, hook me up.
Hmm?
I think low code tools and no code tools are incredibly valuable. They help you stand things up really quickly. They help people actually learn a lot about automation, about the mindset of how we proceed through things, especially some of the self healing ones. So cool. I think they're a beautiful part of the ecosystem of testing. I will never sit anywhere and be like, low code tools are not worth it. No code tools are not worth it. It has to be all code or bust, because they all serve a purpose and they are all so useful and can help fill in so many gaps that we don't even realize we have.
Yeah. It's no, and there are kind of gaps. We have them all over the place. But a tool, they feel like these bell curves to me. It's
Mm,
good for this area, but you'll start to see the curve deepening here. And maybe you have another tool that will cover that one, and you
yeah.
want to have it as even as possible. And because and the same with automations will leave manual testers out of a job, and the pyramid
No,
of and I'm a
no.
believer of the pyramid of automation. Try to automate as much as possible in unit and leave the front end or not too much for manual testers. But every area is always going to be needed. And
I want to enable manual testers to be creative. We just said this earlier. It's creativity, it's all of these things. If I'm spending my entire life running the same test over and over and over and doing an 8-hour regression every time we have to deploy, I don't have time for the creativity. I'm exhausted. I'm overloaded. My mental load is so heavy. So if I can pull in automation to fix that, great. If I can buy a low code tool that will help me reduce that burden,
hmm,
heck yes. Enable the manual testers to do what they do best. Enable the humans to do what they do best. That's what tools are for. Like, that's why we have rocks. It's why we have hammers. It's why we have drills. Humans developed these tools to make our lives easier. So we should use them. Absolutely.
yeah, no, and it's a little bit like in those practices. Or not long ago, I got a little bit kind of scolded by a friend, a forgot the name, the way to call it, someone in our same trade, a colleague.
Colleague.
Yeah, English things. And
It's fine. I barely speak English too.
man, it's so tough. I have no. But and we were like, I started to go into, yeah, shift left, shift right, and he's like, yeah, you're shifting, and but and that's kind of also a conception. But what about the middle? Uh, that shifting means that you're taking from and moving, like, oh, and then it's something that as well, not only tools, because there are tools for the right, there are tools for the left, and low code, too much code, and all in between. And the people that go along, like the diagram that you have with these um, kind of, may I call them quadrants or
Yeah.
something for the type of people? Maybe even like a 3D, because you also like moving, like how left or right are you, what type of mindset or processes. And I was like, so you're saying like not shift, like spread it a little bit and just like not leave it out of the middle, because it's always needed. And we need to keep having all those tasks and skills and possibilities. But it's
One of the things my dad says, we're going to get religious for like 5 seconds, is that theology taken to extremes is heresy.
I like it.
And I believe that about everything. I also think Agile's a cult, but that's a whole nother topic. But
Oh,
when,
whoa, we're gonna get into that. I'm
look,
liking it.
if something says they have ceremonies,
Uh-huh.
it's a cult.
Yeah,
They have their own conferences.
yeah,
Oh, wait, is testing a cult? Oh my gosh.
Mm,
Gosh darn it. Am I in a cult again? Anyway, theology, heresy. So
yeah.
when we talk about shift left and we talk about shift right, when we talk about it in its purest forms, same with Scrum, Agile, Kanban, all of these things, waterfall, it is a huge thing, and it never survives contact with the enemy.
Mhm.
It
In its
always,
purest form.
in its purest form, it has to be adapted and molded to the people you're working with, the environment you're in, the verticals you're in. So when we say, yeah, we're going to shift all the way left, like, okay, fine, you're not going to, but that's fine. And theology taken to extremes is heresy. If you try to shift all the way left, like the hardest, purest form of that, you start hurting people. If you try and do like the purest form of Scrum and Kanban, you start hurting people.
Mm-hmm.
You have to step back and say, what pieces of this are valuable? What pieces of this work for my organization? And how can I make sure that the humans above all are protected?
Yeah. No, because all of these things are built for the goal of providing projects to humans to use and be happy around it, and for everyone in the chain to be the least miserable as possible, right?
Yeah.
And it's, yeah, what you're saying about the cults, or someone, you just brought me from the past, like 15 years ago, PMP times and all that. And the PM was like, no, you need to do this scope statement and do the change request with. And I'm like,
Yep.
dude, but how will that work? This is, we need to be a little flexible. No, the commandments of the PMP, and you just brought me like, oh wow, yeah, he was like a, not an evangelist, a preacher, just like, and
I've occasionally spoken at Agile conferences, and when you start talking to people that their job is Scrum Master, like their job is to protect the tenets of Scrum, like it really does feel kind of cultish and a little bit out of touch.
mhm.
Because yeah, like daily stand up, what I did yesterday, what I'm doing today, any blockers. It can be so rote, almost like you're reciting a prayer.
Mhm.
Our Father who art in Trello.
Yeah, amen.
But if you start like mixing that up and saying, okay, what works for my team? Well, you know what I did yesterday isn't useful. But I would like to say, hey, what are you planning for this week?
Mhm.
Is there anywhere that you need support? Like maybe that works better for your team. Or maybe don't tell the Scrum Master. You want to do an asynchronous Scrum where you do it on Slack.
Oh my god.
Maybe
Daily
planning
stand-ups on
ceremonies
Slack.
don't
Oh my
work.
god, they're awesome.
They're so good. They're so good. We just started doing it on my team this week because a lot of us are out of town.
Yeah, I mean, those daily stand-ups, and with these modern situations can become hectic. I mean, in a person's daily stand-up, usually the 10-15 minutes, nah, that almost never happened, and everyone, but I have more problems, and we all need differences. But yeah, those variations, like, yeah, you can write it up, have a log of it, and whoever cares about what you're doing will go and read what you were doing.
Or you could keep Jira updated.
Yeah, that's another one that would be nice to have. Not like you were just saying, like the conferences in person. What am I gonna do? People could smell. Well, those things can
I was
happen.
mostly worried that people were still going to be wearing pajama pants and that I was going to be the only one not wearing pajama pants.
Well, they were comfy, but I was more worried because we're in a warm place, and
It's so warm, y'all.
yeah, and shorts are in the order of the day. So, but fortunately, I don't see that. I mean, we're in front of a pool. We're seeing people swimming over there and having fun, and
There's also a poolside bar.
a poolside bar, a jacuzzi down there, and well, that's variety. That's all what we were saying. Everyone can fit into what they need. The dress part, you can maybe cover your eyes a little bit, but but
Agile and Scrum and the work methodologies should be a buffet. It shouldn't be like a 4-course fixed menu where you can have no substitutions and you roll in, you're like, well, I'm allergic to shellfish. I guess I'll just die. I don't know. But we should be able to pick and choose the things that work.
Because there are some organizations that, honesty, I have kind of criticized, like, hey, you just have a daily stand-up. You're just wearing yoga pants, but you're not fitness. And it's tough for me at times to go all, um, how to say it, dictator into agile ways and what should be and should be not. But as well, the teams that at times do some of those daily stand-ups, and they are in a sense still waterfall, and they don't, they just have the agile flag, but that's it.
I like to call those Scrum fall or Agile fall.
The agile fall or water fragile.
What are fragile?
It's, yeah, we have all those fun names. But all in all, they get some benefits
Mhm.
out of. I mean, a daily stand-up is a very good tool. It's can be useful
It can be.
at times, not that mandatory. But at the same time, when it becomes a hurtful practice for your team, for your project, for the software that you're developing,
Mhm.
is where you kind of have to sit and reevaluate your decisions, your life decisions, and see, where did I go wrong? Mm. And that as well, like trying to mix and match. I mean, in the agile one, when you said like, yeah, we'll get into the call to discussion, it's super fun because at times I would see the agile coaches, the scrum masters, and people that have gotten the all the certifications. As
Yeah.
you say, in organizations, I was going to say in all times, but still happens. People not opening up or sharing the job because it's my trade,
Yeah.
it's my position. I'm
Yeah.
being careful with what I do. But it's just open up and share and try to do the best for everyone or for your project. And if you get all the dictator in your ways of agile, you become the cult. You become, we all need to wear
Yeah.
robes and candles and chanticles.
That's, I don't know. It's really interesting to me that we have gone from uh, this development style of waterfall, where it's put all the requirements down, do all the things, this much for development, this much for design, et cetera, and being so formulaic and rigid about it. And then we're like, okay, agile exists. It's not as formulaic and rigid, but we've
But
created
here's
a
the formula.
formula and a rigidness around it that I really feel like steps away from what the original intentions were, which is to empower people to create good software in healthy ways.
No, and the healthy way. That's I think a big part because yeah, from waterfall, all we all have war stories and lost relatives there,
Okay,
and
I do have to say, I have met a significant number of people recently who've never experienced waterfall.
we're telling our age, right?
We are telling our age.
Yeah, that's
It's a good thing we're still beautiful.
And yeah, the mustache helps. The hair color, I
You
love
can't
the
tell
hair
if there's big.
color. I mean, it's something that probably will not be able to do that much, but soon. Well, that's something fun because not to say all in testing, we were also going to ramble about topics and have fun.
I'm
We're
in.
just here at the conference seeing what we can talk about because some of these things just came to my mind. I wanted to go over it. Here in QA, we are all, that's going to sound wrong, but special people, different. We are,
Oh, absolutely.
I can't tell in conference, like everyone has a way of talking, speaking, looking, or, well, I was going to say looking, and but it's something part of that cool or that creativity and magic that you were saying, right? I mean, how many QAs do you know that are outstanding? Like just look at me like, oh, tester. Oh, QA, yeah. I, we,
I went to a developer conference, Code Mash,
uh-huh.
in January, and there were a lot of weirdos, but the test weirdos were a different sort. Like Jenna was there, And they and I did a workshop together, and they introduced me to a lot of their developer friends. And I'm like, you guys are strange, but not strange like my people are strange.
Yeah, you're a different breed of.
It was just so interesting because a test conference has a certain vibe to it.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
it's a little bit, it feels more relaxed to me. It feels a little bit more chaotic in a lot of ways. And when I've gone to Agile conferences, there's a fantastic one in North Carolina, Try Agile, if you're interested in Agile stuff.
Hmm.
Um, but I was the only one there last time they had it, with weird colored hair. Like, legitimately the only one.
What? Really?
I was, and I was giving like a major talk, and I felt a little bit self-conscious because it felt like it wasn't my people. And that was really interesting because it was a lot of business people, product owners, and Scrum masters, so a different sort of person.
Uh-huh.
And then here, there's me, Jenna, Melissa, Amanda. Another person apparently has blue hair that I haven't met her yet, but I'm gonna go find her.
Oh.
And it's just really nice. And previously, I had like the side shaves. We had side shave club.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
I don't know. It's comfortable here for me. I feel comfortable and happy around my test humans.
It's interesting now that you mentioned because in some environments, I even was like long ago. Hopefully, I have evolved and changed a little bit. Like, oh, look at that guy, he has tattoos. Ooh, and it's and but it's so fine now to be relaxed. I feel freer
Yeah.
here in the testing communities, testing world than in any other. I think that's why. I mean, I was a PM or developer, some other things in previous lives, and now 10, 12 years in QA, uh, and I'm happy. I'm staying and staying weirder, hopefully, becoming more peculiar. How long have you been on testing, by the way, in QA?
15, 20 years.
Oh wow, yeah, you're a long
I'm an old timer.
marathon.
Back's
No,
going out.
marathon. We have resistance. We keep going.
It's one of those things where I started out in support, so tech support,
Uh-huh.
which is kind of like QA, but
Mhm.
after the users get the problems. And then I moved into testing pretty quickly. So I was at Red Hat doing frontline Linux support.
Oh.
And then I started doing frontline support for a small music company, and then moved into QA from that. So I kind of feel like even when I was waitressing, I was doing QA.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Like I remember in high school when I was learning geometry, and my dad would be, yeah, when you pay attention, there's geometry everywhere. And I was like, eh? But yes, it is. QA is the same.
It
There
is.
are things. Earlier today, I was having trouble with the cameras and putting, and Federico was telling like, yeah, that's why we need QA. You should have tested this before. You should have tested that. Like, yeah, I know. I mean, like, I just arrived and we have excuses.
I have always wanted to walk around with a camera and ask people, how did you get into testing?
Let's do it.
Okay, let's
Yeah,
do it.
yeah. We will.
Do we have a camera?
Yeah, yeah.
If we have a camera,
have
you
a few
have an
of those.
audience.
There are not that many, but
Because it's so interesting to hear it. More recently, you'll hear people be like, oh, I went to school for computers, and they had a QA course and I really liked it. But in general, it'll be things like, yeah, I was a chef and wanted to make more money. So I tried to get into computers, and QA was hiring. So many people fall into it.
yeah.
It's not as defined a career path as like being a PM or a designer or anything like that. You're just
Well,
going along your life and you trip and you fall into wonderland.
oh no. Oh my God. I think I'm a tester.
You're like,
And I kind of like it. I
it's
never
like
thought.
a superhero origin story for almost everyone.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like
It's
Ash Coleman was a chef and a dentist.
no.
Totally.
Oh wow.
One of my coworkers, fine arts in photography.
That's super crazy because I know English just a literary major. I don't know how the name in
Mhm,
English. I forgot. Others that are
Yeah.
philosophers
Yeah.
and careers that I'm like, but we're in
History
IT.
majors. There are so many history majors in testing.
A friend on the performance world, Stephen Townsend, he was an arts and acting, and now
Yeah.
he does performance and performance. And it's super cool, yeah, and it's a career that accepts everyone. It's super open.
And you don't actually have to have the kind of technical skill that people look for when you're hiring a developer.
Hmm.
I just hired a guy as a stay-at-home dad of twin boys for 10 years. Incredible tester.
Wow.
Like, he is my proudest hire at this moment.
Okay.
Because he's just got that mindset.
Interesting.
But if you look
It's,
at the resume, like, the resume doesn't say this person's going to be an amazing tester.
and it's
It's
not
so
something
cool.
that sadly I haven't seen any college or university that is like the testing, at least a class or QA class or something.
There's a couple that are coming up with like one or
Really?
two classes.
Wow,
And
that's
I
awesome.
saw someone had a QA boot camp on the
Oh.
resume, but it wasn't able to interview them for some other reasons.
But it's out there. I'm
It's
super
out
happy to
there.
hear
Yeah, me
because
too.
it's
I don't know how legit they are, but they're out there.
I don't know a single tester that became a tester from I want to be a cowboy, I want to be a spaceman, I want to be a tester. No,
Yeah.
I don't know anyone that was kind of like looking for that approach.
Nurses and teachers make incredible testers.
I can
I know
see that.
so many people that have made that leap. And it's really interesting to me because I strongly believe that everything you've done in your life leads you to this moment.
Mm-hmm.
Every skill you've had, every experience you've had makes you a better tester, makes you more empathetic. It makes you look at things differently. And that is what I look for when I'm hiring entry level folk or testing as a second career folk.
Yeah, and it's something as we were saying, you don't study for. There are not that many chances to study for, but it's more like and I tried in a podcast episode long ago to like narrow it down. What is it that truly makes a tester? Because it's not that you are into IT. It's not that you are an ISO 9000 standard of thinking, but that you are kind of curious. That you question things like,
Yeah.
why did that fail? Why is that problem?
It's empathy, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the basis for testing is empathy.
Yeah.
Being able to step out of your experience and into someone else's experience and say, how is this user going to react to this? What are they going to do? How are they going to move through this? How are they going to react if something bad happens?
Yeah.
Like, having that empathy, that strong sense of connection with people you don't know is so vital.
Because and you're right. It's empathy is a good big component of QA. Because how many times a developer have told you, nah, there's no problem with that. No, the user is gonna hate that. They won't
Yeah.
like, or yeah, it's okay to put that button that tiny in your mobile screen. I have twinky fingers. I cannot touch that thing, and it's something that when you have that empathy with the user, you can foresee what is coming, what is going to be the problem. And
Yeah.
it's
And you can reduce their frustrations. Uh, I worked on a app that the goal of the app was to reduce the amount of time people spent doing a particular type of report.
uh-huh.
They would spend 6 to 8 hours making these reports. And after our app got out there, it knocked it down to 2 to 3.
Ah,
So being able to do that and being able to have like that moment of just rejoicing in the experience of these people that I don't know.
yeah,
Like, it
that
doesn't really
improvement
matter to me if Karen, the CRA, can get home to her 4 kids a little bit earlier.
3 hours earlier. I mean,
Yeah.
that makes a huge difference.
But if you think about it, like, wow, we did that.
Yeah,
It's beautiful.
it's There are some parts where at times you don't get that much of feedback, but in QA is like I feel like I helped someone, helped the world, I made a
Yeah.
difference. Depending as well on what is the project that you're working at. I mean, there are some, but someone once told me this person was a reporter, big time news, and was like, "And your job, what are you doing? It's not like changing the world. It's not." No, but I'm sure I'm helping people. I mean, I'm sure that it makes a difference to someone. Little Timmy will get a turkey at Christmas because of this, and it's it's rewarding to think that you're helping, you're making something better, and that's QA. We're trying to make things better.
The other piece of that to me is that we're shaping the future.
Yeah.
Like the things that we test for today are the things that are getting built into the software, which is going to become the standards.
Hmm.
So, oh, who's about to rant about accessibility? It's Jenny. So if we don't take accessibility into account, if we don't say, let's make sure everybody can use this, we're literally cutting out huge segments of the population from being able to get into our app.
Hmm.
And if we step back and if we advocate for accessibility, if we advocate for these things, then we're going to start building that into the culture of QA, into our entire industry. And we're designing a world that everyone can live in and be part of.
Yeah, and that sometimes it's argued like it's first world problems that we are fixing, that we're improving a baby step at a time. Like those that say if you improve 1% per day, it's just 1%, but when you add up, it becomes a big difference. And that single 1% that you help to this person that gave them 3 hours back after at
Mm-hmm.
the end of their day, if it was a daily task, you're giving them probably 15 hours per week.
Yeah.
And that will make a huge difference when you add up. As silly as if you notice that the button is not where your thumb can
Yeah,
reach
you
the
can't,
app,
can't reach it.
and because these freaking large mobile screens, and if you make that difference, I mean, I know people, myself included, that you will be upside down playing with the phone. Oh, because the button
Do
was so
that.
far, and we all have gotten that. Like my tiny baby hands cannot reach the other corner, and
Look at this. My hands are tiny baby hands.
yeah, I mean, we're a little bit like in with the same situation. I remember the first huge mobile phones that Shaq
Oh
was,
my gosh,
these
they
are
were
for my hands,
awful.
and I'm like, yeah, your hands, man, I have problems here.
Oh my gosh,
And
it's so crazy.
those areas in QA, we are the ones trying to make that better. Usability, that's something that I don't
So
know
vital.
why no one in usability has said like, hey, big mobile phones, tiny hand people, work it out. Mm, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a huge world, and
And our hands are so tiny.
we cannot help as much as we would like to. Because I don't know, it's something as well in QA. It's the type of people that I have met in the QA area. Most of them are because they want to do something better for the world. They
Yeah.
have like a, how to call this, bigger mission or something they're trying
Mm.
to do. I definitely can see it with you. Most of the people that I meet in conferences. And I think it's something that for the audience, the three people and my sister and someone, hey, someone, the family, um, looking at this silly stream, may get inspired by, right?
I
It's
would love that. We were talking at dinner last night. What's your superpower? Like, what's your superpower? And my superpower is impact. I want everybody who comes in contact with me to be different.
mm,
I want, because I exist, this is so narcissistic. I want people to be better. And that's one of the things that drives me to test is I can have a huge impact on so many people at once with good applications, with talking about UX, with being able to say, hey, could we make dark mode work? Like the impact there is huge. That's what I want my superpower to be. Is to
yeah.
be able to impact people and change them, hopefully for the better, but sometimes chaos. That's what I want.
It's always good. Change may be painful at times, but
Sure.
it's in the end, I think most of the time is good. And it's something I know it's cool. Like that's I'm irradiating something that mutates everyone around me. It's pretty cool. It's a good, and I don't know. You just got me thinking like a superpower. Oh, I gotta get a good one or figure out. No, because you have to think about it. What are you doing? What are you want to orient it? I just want super healing to feel better, but no, let's give back. Let's do something.
There's a talk I want to do that's like still tickling around in my brain, so don't steal my ideas. But what's your testing superpower?
Yeah,
Because we all have something.
it's yeah, you can see it. Like some people, I have friends. I would be doing a document and Word suddenly changes the font, and they are like from a mile away, X-ray vision. Like, hey, your font is different there. Really? But I see it. Okay, hover over sans serif, hover over Arial. Oh, you're good. You're good.
And there's some people that can spot a defect in
Mhm.
requirements from 100 meters.
Yeah, that not X-ray vision, but Falcon eyes.
Yeah,
vision.
Falcon vision.
It's,
The people with X-ray vision, they can look into your pull request and know that something's off.
no, there are some that have
Yeah.
this. I call it compiler mindset. That is like, oh yeah, your variable won't work there. What? It's you're not using it. How do you
Like,
know?
what? What?
I can feel it. I say, and but that there's another one like the empathy
Mhm.
superpower. Some people have it. Some they are very good for that. I call the other ones the mind control. They are good at suggesting people how to do some other things. I mean, in a good way, in a bad way. That's a very interesting talk.
Wouldn't that be fun? Like,
Definitely
what's your
see,
testing superpower?
and how can you assign because
And
each QA is a huge
it's
universe.
so huge.
There are so this multiverse of QA that you must have different powers because the people in user experience is different from the ones in performance testing. We do different things. We need to pay attention to different things, and not everyone is Superman with all the powers together. And
Right.
we and there are like for the people thinking of going into testing, even if there's no school or no course or training, go for it. We need so many people. We need to improve the world. We need to make it better.
We need different people in testing. More than any other discipline in software, we need different types of people because our users aren't all the same. Our
Mhm.
users don't all look like me. They don't all look like you. They look like millions of different variations on humanity. Like you can do user personas and get an idea of what your major users look like, but you have to be able to step into that. And one of the ways you can do that is by having a massively diverse group of testers.
and and as well the type of testers with again I'm going to go back to the empathy because I have seen these
Mhm.
areas where even because we were talking a little bit testing preventively catching that these
Yeah.
situations these personas won't stumble or get issues but in the corrective and I have seen this in so many places like my observability suite is telling me that there are some weird patterns here. And is that one where you put the button in a corner that is unreachable to the user and they just drop the page? But they lack the vision or the empathy to say, oh, that's why they are dropping. And they just leave it.
Yeah.
And it's a full circle that we need to close. And speaking of close, I don't want to let this to be too long. I want to keep it in bits so that we can do
I
many.
love that we've hit like all the highlights of my most strongly held QA opinions.
No,
Like
and
it was like a rapid fire.
I'm gonna hit you on a new one because I'm sure, and that's one that I am interested a lot in. And we will have something by Friday in this conference: women in testing, women in IT.
Yeah, that's gonna be so good.
That kicks me. I mean, and it's tough to support it. And being a guy trying to support women, and we were talking earlier. My fiance is. I got her into video games, but it's this um, stigma like, oh no, girls shouldn't touch video games, girls shouldn't code, girls shouldn't. Why not? And there was a discussion at the office. How can we propel this, because having conference for women, but if women do not assist in the first place, if they don't start to break those stigmas from society, say, it's cool, I'm going to take a math class. It's not anti, sorry if this sounds offensive, anti Barbie. I, what do you think? How can we?
So I just had a long discussion over a lot of whiskey about this.
I'm sure whiskey helped a lot.
Oh, I'm about to get some more whiskey. Meet you in the bar later.
So,
It has been historically really difficult for women to find tech mentors
oh, that's
because a lot of the, I don't want to say older people, but the people that have been around for a
The
while in tech are men.
previous generation.
The previous generation are men. So when you're looking, especially back when we were mostly in person, you're saying, okay, I need a mentor. Oh, I'll ask Leandro if he can sit with me. Okay, Leandro and Jenny are going to go in a conference room together and close the door. That doesn't look good.
Yeah.
And that's really difficult because you're in a place where, as a woman, you need a mentor. You need someone to work with to kind of help you break some of this stuff and teach you what's normal in tech. But if you reach out to a man and you're now having like a lot of one-on-one time with somebody, it can look suspect.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually had men tell me, I can't do that. I can't be seen with you like that because I don't want my girlfriend, my wife, my boss to get the wrong idea. And it's heartbreaking because then you're like, okay, so obviously can't trust a man to do it. And hashtag not all men, but enough of them. That you start thinking, well, okay, so I'll reach out to the women, to the non-binary folk, the people like me. But the problem is there's only so many of us in that older generation, and we're tired.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're already dealing with the weight of the expectation of being a woman in test, a woman in tech, and needing to mentor other women as well because there's no one else to do it is brutal.
Yeah.
So there's a stigma there that I think actually working from home helped a lot. Working from home because I can say, hey, Brian, can you help me with this thing? And it doesn't look bad because no one sees us.
It yeah, just a Zoom call and I mean,
So the thing I would say is as women in technology, as women in test, be open to male mentors. Set boundaries, have conversations, try and be open with them as best as possible. And for the men in the industry, consider purposefully taking on a woman mentee and mentoring her in a way that is public and not demeaning.
yeah.
So what I mean by that is don't be like, oh, she's my dirty little secret that I'm mentoring. But like, hey, I was talking with Vanessa and she was wonderful. Here's some nice things she did. I'm glad that I get to work with her in this capacity.
It's
So there you go. That was probably a little too deep.
no, it's very good because, and even for testers in general, male, female, anything in between or around, you hit one of the best recommendations, mentorship.
It's so important.
I wish I had some mentors that I lacked at my beginnings, would have saved me 2, 3, maybe even 5 years of stumbles and silliness, and I'm a little bit prone to those things. And as you say, one situation there that gets me a little bit. Why does it look wrong that a man and a woman are kind of getting together? If it was a male mentor and male mentee, it's okay if they're locked up in a room and you hear screen and suggestive sounds and yeah, nothing's happening. But if it's the other way, why is it wrong? Why should it be dangerous? Why should it? There are so many things that.
As a woman, like, if some, this is so terrible. So tell me to stop at any point if you want.
It's a terrible thing. Go on.
If someone gets the wrong idea about you, you get branded as that kind of woman. You are sleeping your way to the top, or you're using your feminine wiles to get what you want. And it's so dumb that is this trope we have that has infiltrated us so hard that I can't. I as a younger person in the tech industry, it was incredibly uncomfortable going to anyone and saying, "Hey, could you help me with this?" Unless we were sitting out in a public place,
Hmm. Yeah,
and
yeah,
that makes it hard to ask questions if you feel like maybe someone's going to walk past you and be like, "Oh wow, she's asking that question." Eesh. Like you need
yeah.
that kind of private, safe place to ask these questions, and it's hard to have that without it looking inappropriate. And I
Because
hate it.
it's from both sides, right? The gender part where I was saying like girls not wanting to get into math or into science, into programming, but guys also like marking or labeling like, oh, she's the girl getting into programming, huh? Um, and some rough comments or
Yeah.
being drawing lines or making it weird. Why does it have to be weird? When you were saying, she's getting to the place because she's so feminine, so why is it
Why
bad
is
to
it important? Why
why
it's
no and I think personally that it's a valid mechanism to use if you can use it. Oh, he got to that place because he's so masculine, this is a rock and can, and it's acceptable. Why isn't it acceptable the other way? It's looked like something like
because we're not supposed
diminishing,
to. Like
and
supposed to.
it's super. I mean, I wish I could and get some a little bit more. Why is it wrong? If I was in the place, I wouldn't. There's so many
So strange.
things about perspectives and ways how people, and even ourselves. There are things that I often catch myself like, oh, my culture is like, I need to get this out of my head. I'm thinking it, and it's like I'm part of the problem.
We are all part of the problem.
Yeah, it's something that, let's see how we can start fixing, helping, or because fixing it is a tough term, but
We can at
helping.
least start mitigating. And I think we're doing better.
Yeah.
Like we're definitely doing better than we were when I first started and
Oh,
had to like move computer science classes because the boys were mean to me, like really mean. Uh,
I
like it's
remember that.
better now. And I can be a woman who is a director of engineering, who is very well respected. And I'm not a joke, I'm not a novelty. I am someone who is very good at her job and very well respected. It's really cool. No lie.
No, and it's something that shouldn't be something that.
It almost shouldn't be special.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
it should just
oh
be
my
how it
God, she's a
is.
girl and she's good at IT. Cool, or something that.
Her hair looks so weird and she's so good at tech.
Or the
Ugh.
other side, like, oh, because you're a woman, we need our woman quota. That's why you are gonna get a job here, and it's like so
But
many
also,
of
you have
those
to do
things.
all of the outreach and go to every single recruiting thing
Yeah,
because you're the woman.
no, and even some that I have seen, like, hey, can you order the pizza for us? Like, why? And I saw that true team, a bunch of developers, two girls on the team, and a few of the guys, or I asked one of the girls, I'm like, why? Why is her? Why? Well, that doesn't.
I refuse to unload the dishwasher at any office. Like, I will not do it because that's a task that almost always falls to the female presenting people.
Yeah, no,
Also, I
no,
really hate unloading the dishwasher.
no. But those that's genderless. That's I gotta say, mm, yeah, no one likes that. But in any way, let's keep thinking on ways how can we
Yeah,
promote
absolutely.
more girls. We need more girls in testing, in QA, in IT, in science, in many areas that
It
I
is so much
wish.
safer now, y'all. Come join us.
and
We have
and that you have
cookies.
awesome and overloaded mentors that can help a little, hopefully, and um, and even if it looks bad, there are some guys that if we can help,
Absolutely.
make sure that it's a safe environment that you can be okay around. And I would say for all the testers, for one, we need more testers. That's a fact.
I'm hiring.
Oh, okay, take a look.
Full remote, y'all.
Oh, snap. that's okay. Now we're seeing the user count increasing. It's so random, but okay, we will post some details on that Jenny's hiring, and we will try to keep it short again. It has been a pleasure,
It
amiga
has
Jenny.
been wonderful. Thank you so much.
It's I love to be back. Hopefully, we'll have more episodes, more people, more stuff. If you want to come back, you're always very welcome. I'm gonna be sitting here most of the conference. We're giving a keynote, that as well.
It's so
Um,
exciting. I love his keynotes.
yeah, we're gonna be. Well, you're gonna be sharing keynote, right?
I'm doing a keynote with Adrian, the other director of engineering at my company. It's called Detective Hat. And it's about looking at production bugs and how we investigate them.
Oh, shifting right, right. Yeah.
It is just about investigation
Ah,
and thinking and putting stuff together, finding the clues.
magnifying glasses everywhere. Elementary, my
Pretty
dear.
much.
It's okay. Look for it. It's if you are watching remotely, it's free. You can register and come and watch Jenny's keynote. I'm gonna be there as well, doing some other stuff, but I don't want to repeat much because I'm gonna be doing too much recordings and streamings and things. But amiga Jenny, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter most often. Jenny Does Things. You can also shoot me an email, jennybramble@gmail.com. And I'm currently at Papa, which is a company based in Miami, Florida. But like I said, full remote. If you know Elixir, I'd love to talk to you. Or
Awesome.
a nice tester, a good senior, you know.
Okay, take notes, pay attention, shoot an email, note, message, whatever. What's DM in Twitter,
DM,
right?
that's what Twitter's.
Yeah, I kept scrambled with all that. Okay, everybody, we will cut it with this one. Stay tuned. I'll be streaming more stuff here from StarEast. And with you, your amigo Leandro Melendez, also known as Señor Performo from K6 News and Reporting, and the amiga Jenny. Take care, everyone.
See y'all.
And